Let's take then I'm the Man to Be, because you say that kind of appeared right at the end. So what was the spark for that song?
The spark was a funny thing. The spark was that I loved this Schoolboy Q song. I like a lot of his songs, but particularly the song called "There He Go." I'm crazy about. I think it's probably his most popular song. And when we were recording vocals, I had that on my iPhone, and we were taking a break, and I had that playing, and I was talking to Brent how much I loved it, and he thought I was joking because that song is based around a Menomena sample, which I think I knew a long time ago, but I just completely forgot about that. So I'd been listening to this song, and then I was playing it for Brent, and he thought I was fucking with him because he thought he's like, you realize that's mostly me. All that music, other than Schoolboy and the beat, is all Menomena, and I was embarrassed that I didn't even recognize my good friend and collaborator in this other song that I was in, and I was like, well, that must be why I like it so much. So it's a brilliant song, both versions. The original Menomena, Wet and Rusting, is a brilliant song. Schoolboy Q's interpretation and sample and what he did with "And There He Go" is also incredible. So I thought, hey, if two amazing songs can be based around this little piano thing, why not a third? And so I took the same exact sample that Schoolboy had taken, looped that, and wrote a whole different song to it in a hotel room while he was working on other stuff, and quickly sent it back to him. It wasn't a joke, but it was a funny, it was a strange birth of a song, basing it on a loop of his old band that was already been looped for a different hip hop artist that had reinterpreted it. So that was kind of what would happen if I took that same loop. Then I gave it back to him with all the vocal melodies and all those parts. He took out the loop, took out the sample, and rewrote a whole entirely different song underneath what I was doing, and rearranged what I was doing, and he made the chorus, so it's Brent's fault that the chorus is all about my dick and kites and all that kind of stuff. So can I say dick and all that shit? Okay, great, because I've said it a few times. But yeah, Brent was the one who kind of arranged the I'm the Man to Be, and so that song came together in just a couple of weeks. In my head, it seems like just really fast, very recklessly, and yeah.
And when it comes to the lyrics, then would they always come at the end?
I only write lyrics and melodies while listening to music. So, yeah, I mean, lyrics start to attach themselves to melodies along the way, but I don't worry about lyrics. I really don't think that much about the lyrics. I know there's some stuff that works, but I throw it all out there. It's mostly about melody for the first 75% of the process, and the last 25% of the process is when I really start to craft the lyrics and fine tune the lyrics and the melodies a little bit. But for the bulk of the creative adventure or exploration is all just free association and all that kind of stuff. So. The whole record ends up having a lot of overlapping and intertwining themes and stories, but I don't actually connect the dots on those things till much later in the process.
And Brent, for you then, when he comes with lyrics, what is your impression of it, of his lyrics? Are there certain, do you discuss them, the themes and that kind of thing?
Say like C-. No, it's really fun actually, because when Matt puts a melody or some lyrics to some music that I started with, and it changes the way that I see the music, and it also opens these other windows where I start being able to picture other ways, other directions that the song can go, or other, so it might give me a new idea for a bridge, or it might, once there's melody there, then I could start brainstorming ways to maybe switch out chords, and that could sometimes be, for me, really exciting and really fun. So it kind of changes but reinvigorates the way that I view the music, and then I'll change the music stuff. I'll maybe design a bridge or a different chord structure, different instrumentation, and then I'll send it back to Matt, and then in turn he'll, that the changes that I've done will inspire more changes on his behalf. So it's kind of, it's like a kind of like a ping-pong match in that way.
What song then changed the most from the initial idea to what ended up on the record?
That's a good question. I mean, Paul Is Alive started out as a piano ballad and then became pretty dense.
Seems like Paul Is Alive started in a very different place.
Yeah.
Paul Is Alive changed the most, probably.
Yeah. So I'm going through each song in my head right now.
He's going to give you a very accurate answer.
Well, if we take that song, then it's your idea of the song. Is that or the emotion that you feel with the song? Is that the same then as when it started? Now?
Well, the emotion when I started that song, I was really sick with a terrible cold for like 5 weeks, and it was awful. I was just really sick for weeks, and I didn't have much energy to do anything. Except occasionally I just drag myself out of bed and like play the piano a little bit, but then when I sent it to Matt, I wasn't thinking that it would be for this record. I was thinking like, hey, we already have enough songs that we're working on, but I'm sorry, I'm just so sick right now. I'm throwing these other ideas into this other folder. Maybe we'll visit them for like a B-side when this record is done or something. But Matt, being Matt, he just like dove right in, and I think it was around Christmas Eve or Christmas that Matt took that kind of piano improvisation and then started working on it. Weren't you like at your...
I was at my parents' in Cincinnati. It was Christmas Eve, and everybody was sleeping. My family, my parents, my sister, her family, my brother, and I couldn't sleep. So it was Christmas Eve, and I just put that song in and just was kind of like, I kind of wrote most of that night, and it was weird because I think the Paul Is Alive came from the fact that my dad's name is Paul and his birthday is December 25th. Okay. So I was laying awake and it dawned on me that I'd forgotten to get my dad a birthday present again, which happens every Christmas to my dad. Nobody gets him anything until lunchtime on Christmas when we all remember that it was also his birthday. He got neglected a lot. And so this happened again, and I remember, so I started kind of writing about my parents, and being back in Cincinnati, I started writing that song as starting it about my childhood, about my parents. And I think the Paul Is Alive struck me as funny because he was born on Christmas, my dad was, the next day, and then it was also a funny Beatles joke at the same time. So I high-fived myself and then fell asleep and woke up for Christmas. Yeah.
And am I right in saying, because I wrote one line down, and I think it's from It's a Game, I've never been so alone till I read that the Minutemen were dead. So the Minutemen, the band, I suppose, were they a big influence on the record?
The Minutemen were not a big influence on me musically, or I didn't have a big collection of punk records when I was 15 or 14, And the truth is I didn't get into music really at all until after D. Boone had already passed away. But later when I was 18 or 19 is when I think a friend of mine, John, gave me a bunch of his Jam records and Clash records, and then I got into the Minutemen later. But it was mostly, I had been watching their documentary, We Jam Meccano, and the friendship between D. Boone and Mike Watt was what I think really inspired a lot of the stuff in this record. It was how they found each other through music and connected as friends, but had this. They would fight all the time, but music was this glue that formed the foundation of their friendship, I think. And so I used their names to name the characters. D.D. Bloom is kind of like D. Boone, I guess, and Michael is sort of Mike Watt. But then those characters became a lot of other things. They became me, they became my wife, they became a mixture of different stuff. My daughter was listening to the Grease soundtrack all the time, so Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta somehow inhabited those characters a little bit too in my brain. So then that's when it started to become this like punk rock musical idea, although the record's not punk rock at all. I'm aware of that.
Well, it depends how you define punk.
Depends on how you define punk. It's true. I mean, that was the other thing that was inspiring. There's a lot of things that are inspiring about the Minutemen, one is that you listen to a Minutemen record and it goes all over the place. There are songs that are like jazz improv things and acoustic, just acoustic ballads, on acoustic guitar, and that sounds like classical acoustic, and then just these razory punk songs, and Mike Watt plays the bass like this in a kind of a fascinating, reckless way or something like that. So the fact that band was, in a very short amount of time, they tried 20 different things and were just going in every direction at once, joyfully, until Dee died. That was part of the inspiration, just the fearlessness of that band.
And is it well? You mentioned that you kind of write in the free form. So is it now after there's a bit of separation with completing the record that you make these connections and find these?
It was before it was finished. I mean, it was as the songs started to come together. I started to craft it and purposely weave some of the storylines together and connect some dots, but leaving a lot of the dots and loose ends all over the place. So I wasn't concerned about it being too much of a tight narrative. I let it be really loose, and I discovered it. I discovered all these sort of interconnected things, later in the process. It kind of became an accidental concept album, I guess.